Well, we finally heard that the UK is officially in recession for the first time in 11 years. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 4 money mistakes that I think you should be avoiding during the recession. So once the economy recovers, you will be coming out as a winner. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronia, and if you are new here, I talk about all things to do with money, your career, and having a positive mindset for success. So if that does sound great to you, then be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification below so you don't miss out on any new videos. So the fact that we are in a recession has been spoken about in the news a lot, especially over the past few days. And it got to the point where even Rishi Sunak actually claimed that it was a very difficult and uncertain time. So it does seem like there are going to be some tough times ahead. But like in my previous videos, I do want to dial back a little bit and actually explain what a recession is. A recession is usually defined when GDP, which stands for Gross Domestic Product, falls for 2 3-month periods, i.e. 6 months in a row. It can also be quarters as well. And when I'm talking about GDP, I'm basically talking about the value of goods and services that a country might produce. So usually when our economy is growing, our GDP will tend to increase, which is great and it's happy days. But if our GDP starts to decrease, then we can actually see our economy shrinking, and that's what can lead to a recession. And you can actually see that because it's now happened in the UK over the past few months. So for the first quarter of 2020, so from January to March, GDP in the UK actually fell by 2.2%. But then in the second quarter, so from April to June, GDP actually fell by 20.4% in the UK. So when you compare that to previous years, that is actually a really steep fall. So it's no wonder why the news has been going crazy about it. However, you do have to bear in mind that the UK was in lockdown and the economy basically shut down. So a lot of businesses weren't actually able to produce any goods or services, which would have contributed to the overall GDP growth. So a fall in GDP would have been expected. Now, I would say that most experts knew that we were going to go into a recession. The only thing is that we don't really know how long it's going to last and how bad it's going to be. But even though we can't control the economy, I do believe that we can control our actions and our habits. So that is why in this video, I'm going to be running through 4 key financial mistakes that I think you should be avoiding in times of a recession. And actually, come to think of it, I think they're mistakes that you should always try to avoid. But it is especially important during a recession. So the first mistake I think you should be avoiding is panic selling, especially if you have investments. Now, I do think this is something a lot of people do, especially when they hear bad news. I mean, you recently saw this in March this year when the stock market basically tanked. And you also found this in the 2008 financial crisis, where a lot of people sold their investments and ended up making a loss because they thought the world was ending, not realizing that the economy, the stock market, and the housing market would essentially recover over a period of time. And if you are actually investing for the long term, then you shouldn't really be doing this at all. Because usually when people are panic selling, they're really basing that on their emotions because they've heard some bad news. If you're watching the news for 12 hours a day and you see all this doom and gloom, you might start to get all these negative emotions about what's happening in the economy and around you. But remember, bad news sells, so you do really need to take that information with a pinch of salt, especially if you're investing in the stock market, because it can be really easy to buy and sell your shares with a click of a button. What? My investment just went down by £100? Well, time to sell. So personally, I only think you should be selling if it's part of your strategy and you really have a clear plan, and it's not just based on your emotions. So as an example, you might have bought an individual stock a while ago and you realize that actually the business is probably going to become bankrupt. So you would rather lose some of your money than end up losing it all. Remember though, I'm not a financial advisor, so make sure you're doing your due diligence. But like I said, if it's not a part of your strategy, then ideally you wouldn't want to be selling, especially if you just see the stock market going down a few points. The next mistake I think you should be avoiding is not building up your emergency fund. Now, if you have no income coming in or you've lost your job, then this probably wouldn't be a priority for you because you're really going to be focusing more on survival. I do have a video on what I think you should be doing if you have lost your job, so I'll put a link in the description below. However, if you have a steady income or you have a stable job, then building an emergency fund should be one of your key priorities. I'm not going to lie, you can't afford to be spending £200 because it's the Eat Out Help Out scheme when you have £0 in your emergency fund. But Veronia, it's 50% off in Nando's. Nope. But what if? No. But no. Plus, I've made it easy for you because I already have a video on how you can build that emergency fund. So again, I'll put the links in the description below. And whilst you're down there, you may as well subscribe. The third money mistake I think you should be avoiding is spending more than you earn and getting yourself into more debt. Now, we're in the recession, and like I said, hard times are ahead. So really, you shouldn't be spending more than you have, especially if it's not for necessities. Now isn't the time for you to be maxing out your credit card because you see everything on sale. Oh, I see Amazon has a sale. Deal of the day. I don't get paid till the end of the month though, but I do have an American Express card. Again, you really need to be cutting expenses where you can. Now, I'm not saying that you should be living on noodles every single day, but really look at your finances. There might be things that you pay for every single month that you don't actually use. And if you've already watched my previous videos, you probably already know what I'm gonna say. But a budget would really help you to identify where you can actually cut your expenses. Again, I've got videos on budgeting, so I'll make sure to put some links down below as well. But please look at your expenses and make sure you're spending less than you earn. So the fourth mistake I think you should be avoiding is not actually taking advantage of the situation. Now, of course, if you don't currently have any income coming in, then this might be a bit more difficult to do. But if you're in a stable position and you know it's going to be like that for some time, I would really encourage you to take advantage of what's happening so that once the economy recovers and we're finally out of a recession, you would have already been building these strong habits to create success for the future. And by that, I mean increasing your financial education by either watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, and also reading as many books as you can. And I'll put a link in the description below on books that I would recommend and have really helped me on this financial journey as well. Also, if you've got an emergency fund and you don't have any high interest debt, then you might also want to think about investing, because you might find that you're able to buy investments at a lower price than before. And that could actually be considered the best time to buy. So if I see that an investment has gone down in price, I like to think that it's basically on sale. And as they always say, you want to be able to buy low and sell high. But do remember that investing does have risks. You might make money, but you might also lose money as well. So make sure you're doing your due diligence and researching as much as possible. So remember, we have gone through recessions before. Now, if you're a millennial or Gen Z, you might not necessarily remember much about the 2008 recession. But even though during that time the economy completely shrank and a lot of people lost their jobs, we did still recover later on. So even though we might feel like we're in the worst recession at the moment, and it could progressively get worse, I do personally believe that we will get through it, and I would encourage you to take advantage where you can. Because I know that I definitely will be. Whether it's investing or increasing my financial IQ, I know that I want to be a winner at the end. So the question is, will you have that similar mindset? So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel. And let me know in the comments, are you planning on taking advantage in this recession? I do post every single Friday, so if you would like to know more, then please do subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next Friday.